Well, joining us now, Air Marshal Anil Chopra. So thanks very much for being with us. Your first thoughts at this terrible accident and the loss of life.
Yeah, Vishnu, most unfortunate, first the accident, and more than that, the loss of life of a great professional, a test pilot, a display pilot who have been performing here itself, and we have seen him perform earlier at displays in India. Excellent pilot, but unfortunate loss. We all seen the maneuver. It was a downward repositioning maneuver, some kind of a barrel turn, but we saw that in the final stages, it could not pull out of the ground. The aircraft meshed down and then finally hit the ground, and it was a ball of fire. Unfortunately, we couldn't see the ejection seat, and now the Air Force has confirmed that we have lost the pilot. And so therefore, our condolences and my regards and respects to the family and to the Scotland boys who would sort of be also, a little shaken up to see one of their colleagues having gone down with the aircraft. The aircraft has had a good track record. This is unfortunately the second एक्सीडेंट मैं कहता हूँ कि जैसे नज़र लग गई है बेचारे एयरक्राफ्ट को from 2001 it did the first flight. This is the second aircraft lost, all within a period of nearly 1 year. The previous one was not in a display, it was a technical problem, but now this is a display. Displays are always risky. We all seen such close contact that the display aircraft is making with the ground. Extremely, they are following the edges of the envelope of the aircraft. I myself have been a flying display director at Aero India 2003. I know what goes on at an air show, how the whole thing is videographed, how we do the briefings and debriefings of all the pilots, and there is a special control room set up from where the flying display director controls, and he has with him the qualified pilot. In this case, the LCA pilot from the Scotland would have been there. He perhaps may have been the standby pilot, or he would be the guy who would be regularly involved in the briefings and debriefings of this display pilot. So therefore, we are not here to conjecture. It is a great loss. Court of Inquiry will use the fine-tooth comb to be able to go into great details. They look at aircraft serviceability, sabotage. They will look at the FDR analysis of the previous sorties. They will look at the pilot's performance, his medical and mental status, everything. They will go into great details. Luckily, this crash has taken place in an open ground. It's a desert. And therefore the FDR will be possible to get the FDR very, very quickly. By now, the chances are that the ground team would have already hit the point of impact and collected the FDR, because it's a small aircraft, unlike the Air India 171, where it took us some time because it had gone into a building and there was a huge aircraft. So I think things will happen very, very quickly, and Indian Air Force and the government will get into the action to look at it closely. The HAL team is already there. They will also have to be involved in this whole exercise.
Marshal Chopra, can you take us through, since you have flown fighter aircraft abroad and at shows as well, are there any diplomatic aspects right now? Will it be a joint inquiry in Dubai? How does it work? The wreckage will have to be brought back to India. Can you throw some light on those aspects of it, sir?
Yeah, see the people who are doing the display, the committee which is coordinating the whole air show, they will of course have to get involved. The ground, the crash crew will be Indian, which is the way each country, when they bring the aircraft to Aero India, they bring their own crash crew, and they are the ones who will be standby. But it is not possible in a foreign country to do anything without the help of the administration. The local police will have to cordon that place. They will have to give a great amount of support. But a pure court of inquiry and technical bits will be handled by India, HAL, Indian Air Force, and but you will require diplomatic, political support from the government at this occasion. All these things are already factored at displays. They have catered for an eventuality like this, and all those protocols are in place, because every year there are so many air shows taking place all over the world. So the things have been nicely taped up and fully positioned. Yes.
Air Marshal, from what I saw of the video, there's a signature move of the Tejas called a negative G. It appears from the videos, couple of the videos, that the aircraft was in a negative G maneuver and then sort of rolled out off that. But the roll itself, it wasn't a snap roll where there was no loss of altitude. There was a significant loss of altitude. But by the end of that, the pilot appeared to bring the wings of the aircraft level. But there was simply not enough altitude to play with. Is that your reading as well?
Yeah, Vishnu, firstly I must tell you that this negative G turns very few aircraft in the world are doing, but of course they are doing, fighter aircraft are doing, because there's a way to show that the fuel system and the various other system on board can take fair amount of sustained negative G. Also shows the skills of the pilot and of the aircraft. So this negative G role is there, but negative G, when you apply, there is a different dynamics in the body of the pilot, but then the pilot is trained for that. What exactly happened between the negative G turn and the repositioning turn that took place thereafter, I personally, from the videos that I have seen on your and other channels, I could not make out if something went wrong at that transition. So that transition part will be looked at in much greater detail. Mind you, at air shows, there are videos being taken by such a large number of people, professionals, media channels, and the team, the ground team of the Tejas itself will be doing a video channel recording. So all that will help them, do the court of inquiry, and they will go frame by frame to look at how and what maneuver was correct or incorrect, and then they will match this frame by frame with the FDR recordings, and they will play the two together on a special computers which are for the debrief, where the two can be played together, second to second, to see what could happen. And in that recording, they also will see the aircraft control surface positions, what is the input the pilot has given, the control stick position. All that comes, the number of parameters that get recorded nowadays in FDR is phenomenal. So, Vishnu, the thing that you are mentioning about this transition, maybe you have had greater access, but sitting at home, I could not make out this aspect that you are trying to mention.
Marshal Chopra, you are a test pilot, which means that as part of your flying duties and tasks, you were literally meant to fly aircraft at the very limits of their capabilities to see what they can do, test pilots are a breed apart, and we are hearing that this particular pilot in this fatal accident was also a test pilot. I wanted to ask you about those aspects of flying, sir. What does test flying involve? There is, I don't want to speculate about the causes of this accident, but there is always the possibility of disorientation as well. Very less likely for a test pilot, but always possible, and it will be something that the Indian Air Force will look at as part of the investigation. But first off, as far as test pilot flying is concerned, sir.
Yeah, Shiv, I'll tell you, as test pilots, you're trained to hit. When you go and evaluate an aircraft, whether it's an Indian aircraft or aircraft, when you evaluate abroad, you're supposed to go and check out the entire envelope, right from when you do the ground start to the time you go and hit actually the Mach numbers and the speeds and altitudes and the G that it's supposed to do, whether you do it in 2 or 3 sorties or whatever is your evaluation program you will do over there. But I want to highlight, Shiv, that beyond test flying, flying is evaluating an aircraft, whether it's good enough, is it meeting the specs that the manufacturer has given or not. But display flying is slightly different. As I must mention, I'm the flying member in the court of inquiry for Wing Commander Joe Bakshi's accident, which happened in Palam. I happened to be an eyewitness. I also was the flight commander of the other squadron, and therefore was made the flying member of the court of inquiry. And I got to understand that the flying, and I read many books on the psychology of aerobatic display pilot. The aerobatic display pilot is trying to impress not the general public. He's trying to impress in that display to the world, to the manufacturers, foreign manufacturers, to professionals, the other test pilots of the world, because they're all sitting there. All the test pilots are sitting there. So it is a very different ball game. This requires a high degree of maturity. The aircraft has to be, of course, doubly, triply checked. And that, in any case, in all aviation, you don't fly an aircraft which there is the slightest amount of doubt. So there is the maneuver, the additional feature in a display is that you are very close to the ground, and you are close to the ground trying to take the aircraft to its limit. So there is a different ball game altogether. Yes, test pilots are chosen because in their daily routine they have understood they they become part of the aircraft. There is no difference between the aircraft and them. They are one family. So therefore the test pilots are normally chosen. Also the company test pilots, it's their job to display. But I also want to mention this is not the first time an aircraft has crashed in an air show. World over, every 3-4 years we have had aircraft crashes. There are people who have ejected. There were people who in a Su-27, the pilots ejected after hitting the ground. Aircraft caught fire and then they ejected and they came out, survived. There have also been cases where the people ejected in time.